If someone tells you, I'm going to pay you a decent amount of money to go to a secluded place that's off in the middle of nowhere, that's only accessible by the sea, and you'll be there for even only 4 weeks, don't do it. It's not worth it. The Lighthouse. Man, oh man, this movie has a lot to unpack. I will say this. I am not one normally, if I, see a movie at a good time and I can come back home and do a review, I'll do a review right there. But this movie made me stop and think about it. Made me linger with a couple of its narrative choices, its thematic choices, cinematic choices, and it's like, what do I really think of it? And it takes you a while. It takes you a while to come back after that movie and kind of unpack it all. So I'll say this. What does the movie have going on well for it? First off, it's got a great theme and a great feeling to it. It's all about being in this lighthouse that's secluded away from everyone else and everything, except for animals, random, sea creatures, I guess you could say, if that's the right word. And it brings with it this sense of, well, this is where I am now and what can I get away with? In that seclusion, you tend to reveal certain things about yourself, your true self. One of its characters does a lot of that. You learn a lot about this character through the acts that occur here. But the movie also decides to do something interesting narratively too in the other character, where you don't learn almost anything about them except for the very little details. And it's interesting to think about that coming after the movie and how it ends. The characters are only as good, though, as the actors that portray them. And thank God they got Robert Pattinson and William Dafoe for this, because they did an excellent job here. This movie would not be believable if they didn't have these two great actors on screen with one another, and they didn't have a chemistry, and they really did have a chemistry, because it comes off as super authentic. You can understand why certain characters at moments have this camaraderie with one another, and then 2 seconds later are fighting, squabbling about the most ridiculous things. And it's an interesting thing to unpack, and I don't think that feeling could have been sold quite as well without these two guys. So instantly, Pattinson is an interest to me in future movies. And of course, William Dafoe, God, he just proves how good he is in every single chance he gets. So, great job there. Of course, the movie is also directed by Robert Eggers. He had done The Witch previously. And the great thing about The Witch is something that The Lighthouse has going here as well. It's a sense of seclusion, about being removed from society and seeing what will happen, when people are removed from society's influence. And it's interesting. I think Robert Eggers has a little bit of a different take on what would happen, because his first movie examined kind of what happens when a family starts to lose control and start to not care about one another in the ways that they should, or pretend that certain things are wrong when they're not that bad. That element is taken to another degree here with only two characters and two people being stuck in a place with one another, and two of them being men. The movie does a ton of interesting things about being stuck in a forced relationship, essentially, with another person. And man, he tries some interesting things here that I don't think in another movie I would have bought. But in this movie I did. These really awkward situations that are at sometimes funny and at sometimes totally obscene and horrible, the parallels between the two are just so interestingly drawn. And so I kind of commend him for that as well. But here's my problem with the movie. Coming back from it and unpacking it, I'm not sure if this movie was trying to tell a mythological tale or if it was trying to tell a more dramatic tale. I feel like with The Witch, it was a pagan story and it stuck to those roots, and you could tell that those roots were apparent. You didn't question reality in it necessarily. In this movie, I questioned every single scene. I don't know what exactly was real all the time, because it's a narrative thread between the characters as well. So the movie is a little confusing and ambiguous, and that ambiguity is kind of cool in the sense of tone and thriller, but it's not so great and the sense of, did that movie leave me with like a thematic element? I'm not sure. I don't know. And so that's where I come to at the end of this review. It's a movie that I don't know if I can recommend for everyone, because you have to be geared up for a really weird psychological experience, first off. And then secondly, you have to be ready for characters that you may not love what ends up happening to them at the end. And then thirdly, you may not know what you know about the characters at the end because you're not sure if you know what you know what you know. It's weird. It's weird. So what I can simply say is, I love enough of the elements here to want to watch it again and to see if I can dissect it a little bit further and think about those elements further on as I watch the movie more and more and more. I have a feeling The Lighthouse could become one of my favorite movies of all time years later. Right now, though, it's simply a fun... let me take that back. It's not fun. It's an interesting, well-made, well-shot movie with some questionable thematic narrative threads. It's an 8 for me right now out of 10. If I had to call it on the spot right now as I'm feeling about it, especially compared to other movies this year, I'm happy I saw this movie, but I can't necessarily say I'd recommend it for everyone, like I alluded to before. It's not quite a worthy watch right now, but it could be later. It's really interesting, and I want to watch it more. So I'll say this, if you're a film fan and if you like The Witch, give The Lighthouse a shot if those apply to you. Otherwise, stay away from a minute and watch it with a friend that you're willing to watch a really weird movie with later on down the line. I feel like as we think about this movie further, then we'll be able to appreciate it more. Thank you guys for watching this review, and stay tuned for more. We have reviews coming out all the time, and I think the next movie we're going to be trying to hit big time is probably Terminator Dark Fate, I think is what it's called. I can never remember these Terminator movies. Genesis, they have so many different weird acronyms to them anymore. But I'm excited for this one, so stay tuned for that, and also stay tuned to our weekly podcast we have running every week. Just search Worthy Watchers. So again, thanks for watching, and go watch what's worthy.